Hello and welcome to Ask Ron. Got a great question today from Vin77 on the musculardevelopment.com No Bull forum. He has a headline called The Business of Bodybuilding. Wanted me to talk about how making money has changed in regards to the sport, both from an athlete's standpoint as well as industry insider standpoint. I'm going to focus on the athletes. It'd be interesting to hear your views, seeing as you've been in the game since the early 90s and were around when the magazines and supplement companies were the big paydays, versus now with social media and the opportunities today's athletes have that guys from the 90s never could have dreamed of. And he had some points to consider, but I found it best to break it down into old revenue streams and new revenue streams. And there's going to be a tiny bit of overlap here, so bear with me. So old revenue streams, things that have been around for a very long time. Supplement contracts, those have been around for a very long time. Technically, Weider Nutrition was, to the best of my knowledge, the one that started that back in the 60s with athletes that were paid to endorse their products. Arnold Schwarzenegger was brought out, Franco Columbu, from Europe to live in LA and paid a monthly salary. And all their photos could be used and were used in all the ads for the Weider supplements for years and years. Supplement contracts went on for many, many years. There still are supplement contracts. Generally speaking, they're fewer and further between now. Probably the height as far as them being lucrative was, I want to say 95 to 2005, and I want to call that the Muscle Tech era because they were definitely the leaders in big paydays. There were a lot of athletes that they had under contract. They probably had about 24 guys who were getting about 100 grand a year or more, and another handful who were getting 200 grand and up. All they had to do for that money was, they made some appearances throughout the year for Muscle Tech. They would go to the big shows and the expos and work the booths, be available for photo shoots, and of course their photos, their images could be used and were used in all the Muscle Tech ads. And Muscle Tech was making so much money in that time. They could afford it, and they were. They supported a lot of these athletes. But supplement contracts in general have been around for a very long time, and a lot of athletes got paid very well from supplement companies for many years. That's not really the case anymore. It's become a lot more financially sensible for these companies to have people with strong social media followings. We'll get into that later, and not pay them so much as make them business partners. Magazine contracts. This is something that really barely exists anymore. MD has nobody under contract. Flex Magazine has just a couple guys under contract. We were the leaders. MD and Flex definitely were the leaders as far as contracts and athletes. And again, at one time, MD had a couple dozen athletes under contract. I want to say close to 30 athletes. Flex probably did too. And that was a huge bonus for these guys because most of the time, all they had to do for that money was be available for photo shoots a couple times a year when they were in shape, and then be available to the writers of the magazines, like me, who would call them once a month maybe, talk to them for anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour for a feature, for interviews, to talk about, go over the pictures for a training article on a body part. It was pretty easy money. And some of these guys, especially if they weren't being used a lot in the magazines, they were still getting paid every month, regardless of whether I called them or anybody bothered them or not. So it was free money for a lot of these guys, and it was kind of a situation where it was the athletes really made out, and not so much the magazines, because Flex had these guys under contract, exclusive contract, so that we couldn't get to them. We had no access to them, and we had people under contract so that they would have no access to them. So we were both shelling out. Both magazines a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars over the years to keep athletes exclusive content for us so that the other magazine couldn't have access to them. Magazine contracts they're a thing of the past. They barely exist anymore. Like I said, we're done with that. Old revenue streams. That's an old revenue stream. Prize money. That's something that's still around, obviously. Prize money's gone up over the years. That's something that has not declined. Winning the Olympia way back in the day was $1,000 for a first prize. You won, like Arnold used to win $1,000 back when he was starting to win the Olympias. Now Phil Heath or Sean Roden gets $400,000 for winning. Sean Roden, I almost said Phil Heath. One old revenue stream that we'll never see again, and it was fantastic for these guys in the old days, especially in the 70s and into the 80s, but especially the 70s. This was huge because I have a big collection of old magazines, and they used to sell training courses, and those are really just like an article. Like you could buy Arnold or Robbie Robinson's or Larry Scott's arm routine. You would pay. It was a booklet. It was like a little pamphlet, basically. It was an article. It would just be an article in like a pamphlet form or a little booklet, 10 pages, 15 pages at the most. It was a big article, and they would charge anywhere from $3 to $10 for one of these. Just think about that. In today's money, that'd be, 3 times that amount of money. And all you were getting was their advice on how to do one thing, like a train a body part or how to bulk up or how to get lean. And that was huge. You couldn't do that today. There's so much free information on the internet that no one in their right mind would send, some bodybuilder $10 for just an arm training article, basically, how I train my arms. But that was big money for these guys. They made a lot of money in that era on training courses. And I could see all the ads in the old magazines, the full page ads. They would have, one guy would have Arnold, for example, or Mike Mentzer or Frank Zane. They would have, 20, 30 different things you could buy for, like I said, anywhere from $3 to $10 each. So imagine you're a fan of Arnold and you sent away for like 4 or 5 of these, and Arnold had how many fans? So you can do the math on that. One revenue stream that was huge, up until digital photography became a big thing, and up until everybody had phones on their cameras, was 8x10 photos. You could buy them through the mail, and they would autograph them for you of your favorite bodybuilder. They would charge anywhere from $8 to $12 on average for these, and that's not bad considering if they're printing them in bulk, that's quite a profit margin. Considering it maybe costs them $1 or less per picture, and they'd make you pay for the postage too. And that was even a huge revenue stream for bodybuilders into the 90s. I remember talking to guys like Levroni and Dillette, Cormier. They would go over to these, especially overseas, FIBO, this huge thing that we still have, a big expo over in Germany. They would sell thousands of pictures over the course of that weekend, and it was all cash money. And they would bring that cash back. Sometimes they would hide that cash so that they didn't have to declare it, because you have to declare anything more than $10,000, and these guys would have a lot more than $10,000. I've heard these guys tell me sometimes just in photos alone, they could make $20,000 to $30,000 in one weekend at a big expo like that. That's crazy, but they did it. You can't do that now because people aren't going to buy your pictures. They're going to want to take a picture with you with their phone. And so that's no longer something. Posters, they used to sell posters. Same thing. Nobody buys posters anymore. Your poster is like your wallpaper on your computer or your phone or whatever. It's not. People don't put up posters anymore. VHS tapes were huge for especially the 80s. That was when you could make a lot of money as an athlete selling your VHS tapes, your training tapes. And guys like Lee Haney and Rich Gaspari and a lot of the other top stars of that era, they made their own training tapes and they sold them, and they did very well. Because, how else would you see it? How else are you going to see your favorite bodybuilder train and see how he does his lifestyle, his day-to-day activities, and how he gets ready for a contest? And even into the 90s, we still had a good amount of that going on. And the Road to the Olympia series did very well. And I think it's gone now. There is no more Road to the Olympia video series because, like I said, people don't buy DVDs anymore the way they used to. They don't. They certainly don't buy VHS tapes. Those are all gone. You watch everything for free on YouTube nowadays, for the most part. T-shirts, guys used to sell T-shirts, make a ton of money that way. Simple thing, but you wanted your Arnold shirt or your Frank Zane shirt, your Mike Mentzer shirt, your Lee Haney shirt, Rich Gaspari shirt, and fans would send away and give you their money for those. Not so much anymore. I don't think people are walking around with bodybuilders on their T-shirt designs like they used to. So those are the old revenue streams. And with the contracts, I want to say this before I get into, the old way was a lot better for people who didn't want to hustle, didn't want to have to work too hard. especially those big supplement companies with Muscle Tech. There were guys under contract with Muscle Tech that most of the year did absolutely nothing in return for Muscle Tech. They sat around, smoked dope, and played video games, whatever. They didn't have anything to do. They were just getting a big paycheck every month. Yeah, supplement companies don't do that anymore. Now they want you to work for your money. So the new revenue streams, these are almost all exclusively as a result of the internet and social media on everybody's phones. So one thing that didn't exist before was membership websites. You can have your own website now and charge a monthly fee for exclusive content. It could be training videos, it could be articles, access to Q&As, access, to chat rooms, all kinds of things where you have access to this person, where they're going to basically, show you what to do, tell you what to do, answer all your questions. And there are a few guys there are some people doing very, very well with those. I know John Meadows has a great one. He has a team of people on his, and experts, and you pay and you get routines and you get questions answered and you get access to a lot of information for that. And Jordan Peters over in the UK has a great one too, trained by JP.com, I think it is, and he does very well with that. Obviously these people, they're paying. They believe they're getting a value out of it, or else they wouldn't pay, because again, there's so much free content now online. You have to have something special, something really valuable if people are going to give you their money. So membership websites, yeah, definitely something that didn't exist before. Coaching, meal plans. Every top athlete, basically, if he wants to, now can be a coach and can sell meal plans, and they can even be generic. I've seen a lot of guys and girls, here's my booty routine, my special 12-week booty routine, just give me $5 or $10. Here's my get ripped diet, and that's just something they pump out. It's copy and paste. It's not customized. But you can also pay these people for custom meal plans. Hopefully they are custom and they're not just sending everybody the same meal plan. Training programs, and coaching. Coaching has become a huge, huge industry now. And again, if you look the part, if you're a champion bodybuilder, if you have some titles, if you have a look that people aspire to, you're a beautiful woman with a great body. Women say, geez, I'd love to look like her. I need to know how she eats. She can tell me how to eat. She can give me her special ab routine, her butt routine. The same thing with the guys. This is my six-pack routine. This is my, huge arm routine. And, you can get a good amount. There's people doing very, very well. There's a lot of people doing very well. And a lot of them they're not necessarily champion bodybuilders. They're not pros. They're not even top amateurs. They just have a great look. And that's probably the biggest difference now, is there's so much more opportunity for people who don't necessarily compete, don't have any. If they do compete, they've never won anything big. You don't have to. As long as you're marketable and you have you're a hustler and you know how to get people's attention and you know how to sell yourself as a product and make people want to look like you, or make people believe that you have the secrets to make them look better, you can make great money these days. And that's something that didn't exist back in the old days. Back in the old days, you had to be a champion or else nobody was buying your stuff. If you're like fourth place in your weight class at the New England or the New York State, back in the old days, people are like, I'm not going to listen to you. Who are you? You had to be Mr. World, Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia, Mr. America. You had to have a big title. You had to be in the magazines. Next one I'll get into, downloadable content. So like I said, people don't really buy DVDs so much anymore, but you can still put out things, training videos that are edited nicely and whatever, and you can charge people to download them. More often than not is the next revenue stream that didn't exist until 10 years ago. YouTube is huge opportunity, because again, you don't have to be a big name. You don't have to have any big titles. If you look great and you have a great personality and you're captivating and make people want to watch your videos, you can make great money off YouTube. So you're basically an employee of Google, because these Google AdSense is who advertise. They handle the advertising for YouTube. So you're getting a percentage off of all the views and clicks and all that. So you can make videos every day. Like I interviewed Nick Miller of Nick Strength and Power. And that's an example of someone who's who's really done very well with YouTube because he figured out how to make captivating content that people wanted to watch, and knew how to do all the right hashtags and this and that, and he's doing very well. And there are a lot of people out there doing the same thing. Some of them are big name bodybuilders. Some of them just have good physiques, decent physiques, but they have great personalities. And anybody who has a good, decent looking physique and a great personality and knows how to market themselves these days on YouTube can do extremely well. So that's something that obviously didn't exist back in the day, and now it does. You can make so much money off YouTube if you know what you're doing. Also, you can, like I said, there's not much in the way of supplement contracts anymore, but there are discount codes. So you're basically a salesman or sales girl, whatever, salesperson for the supplement company. You can pitch their products and post pictures of their products every day, talk about how much you love their products, how great their products are, and give a discount code and say, when you order from Joe Blow Supplement Company, use my discount code and you'll get 20% off, and then you get a percentage of that. You get a commission. So you're working off commission. You're an affiliate. You can also, if you have a huge Instagram following, you can get sponsors, and you can get their money. You can get money from sponsors to post pictures of their products, or you wearing their products, or their watch, or their bracelet, or their power necklace. I don't know. There's people that are out there that, beyond the bodybuilding world, there are people who will make all their entire living off of Instagram. They're Instagram models, and companies pay them big money to wear their clothing every day and post pictures. Obviously, you have to hustle. You have to post all the time. You have to take great pictures. You have to have good captions, great hashtags. There's more to it. You can't be a bum. You can't be lazy. But if you're an enterprising person, you can do so well with social media now. Self-promotion. I mean, that's the biggest difference between today. Is back in the old days, you had to rely on other people to promote you. You had to rely mainly on magazines, and now you can do it all yourself, and you absolutely should. There's no excuse not to make money these days. If you're really determined to, and you're willing to work hard and learn how to promote yourself and how to do it right, you can do it. You have all the tools. If you have a laptop and a smartphone, that's all you need. That's all you need now. You can make your own what's the word I'm looking for? Make your own business, make your own living. So, is it easier or harder to make money these days? I would say it's easier especially because of the internet and social media, particularly now. There's so much more opportunity for so many more people now to make money in fitness and bodybuilding than there ever has been, and there ever will. It's crazy, but it's a great time to be involved in the fitness industry because, like I said, it's huge now. It may not be as lucrative for the top pros as it used to be in terms of magazine and supplement contracts, but it's spread out to so many more people now. So many more people can be a part of it and can make a business out of it. They can be coaches. They can promote other people's products. There's so many ways. So I would say overall, it's easier to make money in fitness and bodybuilding today by far than it was back in the old days. And there's opportunities for so many more people. So all in all, good thing. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later.